Macarena.
Book
We're
club.
back after a brief intermission.
Ugh.
Man, we were having a lot of bad luck with this show. Sorry, everybody out there. Really, it's Mesa that caused us a bit of issue.
So who do we get to blame this week?
Who do we get to blame this week?
Yeah.
What do you mean by this week?
I mean, every week we blame someone for something for some reason. I got blamed for the park thing, and Kahi got blamed for right.
Okay, well, hold up now. You're saying you got blamed as if it was, like, not deserving or something. Like, you didn't do anything
Listen,
wrong.
I'm just saying.
You absolutely did something wrong. Right. That's blaming. You did something wrong. This week, Meso, well, not this week, but last week, a couple of weeks ago, Meso did something wrong. But I guess he got blamed. Like, it wasn't really his fault. But we've been having some issues getting this show recorded because it is so intensive since we do record all of our webcams. So, editing it is a pain, and then actually getting it uploaded is a pain, and then recording it is also a pain. And unfortunately, we were losing a lot of data because of some editing or recording issues that happened. So that kind of set us back a couple of weeks.
There was a
But
lot
we're
of
back.
pain. A lot of pain.
I guess we also had to wait out a little bit because we had just recorded a great episode, and it would have really sucked to have redone it right after finishing it.
Yeah, it's very demotivational. Very.
Very demotivational.
Also, if I
anyway.
may, real fast, for anyone wondering, I'm just testing this mask out. It's not a permanent fixture. I'm still going to go back to the Miru. It's nice and pretty, and I can speak.
No one cares about your mask.
I just wanted to make that clear very fast. No, it's not.
No, it
See, in
didn't.
the end, I still win because I get to now say that the Mask of Victory lost. And that's funny, so everyone can laugh about it while I cry.
But is it funny, though? Anyway, before we get too far into this, hey, everybody, I'm Var.
I'm LJ. Oh my gosh.
That was the sound of this recording getting botched. Viper, where are you?
She said, yeah, she says, my PC just locked up. Sigh. I'm using my iPad. FFS.
And we're back. Okay, well, that was a technical difficulty, everybody.
Nothing we're not used to.
Yeah, especially for
this
Chapter
show.
5, it
Yeah.
seems.
Yeah.
So,
This is
as
the
I was saying
cursed
before, we're going to go straight into it. So, I'm Var,
I'm LJ.
I'm Kahi.
I'm Viper.
and welcome to BioTalk Book Club. So, for today's episode, we are going to be talking about Chapter 5 of Island of Lost Mask, Skull Slicer Strikes.
Alliteration.
This is an interesting chapter. It's very action-packed chapter.
And
if I do say so
polarizing.
It's so interesting.
Is it polarizing?
Is it really? I didn't know that.
Okay, maybe not polar. I mean,
I guess if you like the animations, you'll like this, maybe. Actually, no.
Yeah.
Maybe if you hate the animations, you'll like this because you didn't watch the animations. So
that's a
you
good
would know
point.
this
Ouch.
is
On
just
the
a
other
rip-off of
hand-
the animations.
yeah. And on the other hand, if you don't like, the book or the animations, man, you're hard to please.
Just like your... Anyway. So, with starting off strong, guys. This is a really good episode.
Yeah, you are.
Just like your fan
All
base.
right, so
That's
starting
what I
off
meant to
Skull-
say.
What?
Just like your fan base, right? That's what you're gonna say.
Yeah, just
Of
like your
course.
fan base. Hard to please.
Hard to please, fan bases.
Sorry, guys. Have you read our comments and nothing but Solex spam? All right. So the start of Skull Slicer Strikes, we have it leaving off from where the chapter left off before, or starting off where the chapter left off with Liwa kind of going off on his own. He lands in the courtyard that he so desperately wanted to see earlier, and no one else was all for, I guess. But it's this nice courtyard with a sport thing, and he finds like a rule stone, I guess, where he sees like all these yeah, it's like on a pedestal. Like he sees a bunch of pedestals with like levers and stuff on it, and he sees the stone that has the rules and whatnot. And as he's like looking at the rules and reading them, suddenly, without warning, something breaks through and grabs Liwa's mask. Da da da.
More like
G1
the
references,
Jaws
they
theme
ruin
song.
everything for me.
Oh yeah, all these G1 references. To be fair, it's still kind of cool that Liwa's still losing his mask.
I like that.
G2.
It's a nice touch.
It's a nice connection,
Yeah.
I think. If there was going to be a reference, that's a good one to keep.
Yep.
But then it leaves us off there like a kind of a mini cliffhanger. It goes straight to the other Toa as they're like walking down an alley. They've gotten lost, of course, because Kopaka's leading and he's not the leader. That's Tahu's job, you know.
Yeah, he's the red guy. He must always lead. That's like the cliche 101 for Bionicle.
Yeah. But the joke here is that not only did Kopaka lead them astray, but he also led them to the exact location he didn't want to go to. That was the whole reason Liwa got separated from them, was because Liwa wanted to go to the courtyard and Kopaka didn't, so he went the other way. And instead they ended up at the courtyard. So really there was absolutely no point in separating, and Liwa getting like trashed was like a completely avoidable situation. But the Toa aren't really that smart, as we've established so far, so I honestly don't know how Kopaka managed to pull this off. But they enter the courtyard and they see Liwa kind of lying there unconscious, with there's a freshly punched hole in the wall that he was looking at. They all run to him, they pick him up, and then they see kind of Skull Slicer sort of like run off into the distance and vanish into a shadowy doorway. Pawatu picks up Liwa. Yeah, spooky stuff happens. Liwa's obviously weak, he's lost his mask now, and they chase after Skull Slicer, hoping to find the mask. But then they find Skull Slicer in the middle of the courtyard. He takes off his mask, puts on Liwa's mask, and suddenly Liwa starts losing more, like his energy starts to drain. Now this is interesting because, for one, Pohatu responds to this by stating that, oh, there is a special connection between Mask and Toa. That's interesting because I have no clue how Pohatu knows this.
Yeah,
he seems to have a lot of knowledge that no one else has.
Pohatu seems to know everything.
It's a running theme. Let's not act like
What
this
do
is
you mean
surprising.
it's a running theme? It doesn't make any sense. There's
No,
no reason
the
he would
running
know
theme
this.
is that the running theme is that people know information that they shouldn't be able to know. That's the running theme.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. I get you.
Right.
I get you. Yeah, it's kind of dumb. It's like it's just it makes no sense that Pohatu would know this and no one else knew this, because assuming that Pohatu knows this, he was told this from the protectors. But if Nilku knows this, then the rest of them should. So I don't know why they didn't tell any other.
I mean, I guess
so
they
who
could have
knows?
just. I mean, we'd have to stretch out to say why it couldn't happen. We shouldn't have to.
Great knowledge.
All right. Yeah, we have to make sure the book is under that like 100-page limit there.
Right.
Great knowledge comes great responsibility. Remember that part.
Yeah.
Remember that.
And what we know is that none of these Toa aren't very responsible.
No.
But anyway, so yeah, that was an interesting thing. But the actual interesting point, though, is that there is a connection between the mask and Toa, which is odd, to say the least. I'm not really sure why draining energy from the mask itself would also drain energy from the Toa.
Right.
I'm not really sure how that works.
I don't know if it's also like, see, in G1, it was if they don't have their mask at all, that's what makes them weak. If you don't have any mask at all. But the Toa, it's implied that the Toa are losing energy because someone else has the mask. Not because they don't have one to begin with.
Right. But that's odd because it makes it this like kind of assumption that the mask is directly tied to the Toa. But that's a really weird coincidence, I guess. Like,
Right.
did Akimu intentionally make these masks tied to the Toa? And if so, how did he have that power?
I mean, let's be fair though. The golden masks are just gold versions of the masks they already wear. So
Right. So then where did these masks come from? Because I'm assuming the mask makers made them.
yeah, they did. I don't.
So why then do the mask have some weird connection to the Toa then? How did that become established?
That's true.
Is it possible that they would have had a connection formed once they put on the mask?
Maybe.
It's still pretty weird that the masks are the same like design as the masks that Toa are already wearing when they land.
Right.
I mean, sure.
That
there's
is weird.
Granted, it may be a scenario similar to the original Kanohi masks, where it's just a popular design, and it's just
That's
very
true.
weird.
Yeah,
that
it was
the
also
Toa
really
are the-
convenient that the Toa.
Yeah, but the
come in.
Toa are the only ones who wear it, though. None of the other inhabitants wear these masks.
Granted that we've seen.
Well, yeah, but we've seen entire villages and not a single one of them are wearing anything different other than the protector mask.
Yeah,
It's
you're
true.
right. Yeah.
So, I mean, it seems a little far-fetched that this would be a popular mask design if we haven't seen anyone wearing it.
It's the new trend.
And even then, it seems so, like, would that be then that anyone could just put on this mask and suddenly have this psychic link, or what?
Well, I mean, presumably, when they do have some sort of psychic link. That's why they're losing energy. It's because the
Like,
link is
well,
being
yeah,
drained.
that's right, but, like, we do know that the whole reason the Toa had to be the ones to pick up the mask was because, like, the mask did not work for the protectors, basically. It wasn't strong enough. Or they weren't strong enough for it. So that's a thing, but that's weird though, because like, why would who made these masks then? Because clearly they were designed for the Toa, or someone powerful enough like the Toa to actually wear them.
It might be just
Well,
mask makers,
it
and like,
always-
I mean, we don't know the thing that this question is not going to be answered until we know the origins of the Toa. We're not going to get that answer.
Yeah,
and it's
I mean,
not
that's
going to
very
make
true.
sense until we know the origins of the Toa. If they were made by the mask makers, they were made above people who were above the mask makers.
Yeah,
Just
they're
so
from,
weird.
I was gonna say,
another island.
Akimu and Makuta were brothers, so that means that they have some sort of bloodline going. So maybe there's
Right,
like,
they are brothers, and they
That is
might
true.
possibly
so
have
maybe
a
like their
parent.
father or their great grandfather or their great grandfather or mother or.
It is interesting to
whoever.
note that we also know that a lot of the Skull villains were like created using like the bones of the deceased, because they rise out of the graveyard from the ancient city. And we have been like told in like magazines that some of them are ancient like warriors or like gladiator type creatures. So maybe whoever made these masks made them with the intent that people like this would wear them.
Yeah, stronger individuals.
Maybe
Yeah,
the
so maybe
warriors
these
were
masks-
supposed to wear them.
Maybe, and maybe that's why like we never really see anyone else wearing any mask designed like this, because they're ancient designs, and you know, like they haven't really been made in a long time.
That makes sense for the prophecy
And since
too.
we know that the Toa, yeah, it makes sense with the prophecy, because the Toa were brought to Akodo through the Mask of Time, so maybe they are ancient heroes too.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
That kind of fits in with like the Borok thing, sort of, doesn't it? Like,
No, it's all
Your G1 references are ruining this experience for me.
No, just kidding. Go on. What were you gonna say?
well, it kind of fits in with like the Borok thing. It's like, what if the Skull Warriors or whatever, they were actually dead Toa, or like they'd been transformed into like these things because
Right.
Right.
Masters?
So like how the Bolrock were changed from the
Matoran,
I see.
right,
yeah,
right.
like the
Okay.
Ave Matoran. Yeah.
I can see
I got
that.
you. Interesting. So then I wonder what their original purpose was for then, because it seems like they're ancient warrior gladiator type people. Maybe the Toa were also this.
Maybe.
Possibly.
I don't know what else to tell you.
Yeah,
That's
what if like
maybe.
the Skull villains are just like alternate Toa? Like like Skull Grinder is literally just Tahu.
Yeah,
Oh, that would be
that's
great.
Tahu
very
that
That would be
died.
fantastic.
That's a very
I love
popular
that.
fan theory. But
Is that
for
a
lot-
popular theory? I haven't heard
yes,
that before.
actually, that at least before they came out, before the sets came out and the animations came out, that was a very popular fan theory. But the majority of people that heard it discarded it or disregarded it entirely because of Scorpio.
I mean, but we all like the parts are what's been used though.
No,
Like,
I
it could
realize.
still be their deceased parts that were just brought back together in like a
Could be
really
just, like, parts
haphazard
of the
shape.
Toa that have been changed
Yeah, it's just
into-
the parts of the Toa.
Yeah, because there was one theory that the reason that these are timeless heroes is that there's like a constant stream of heroes being brought in, and the Skull villains were the last group, and so the Protectors are now calling on the second or the third or fourth or fifth batch of heroes
That's a
to
cool.
kind of
Interesting.
repair
I like
the
that
flaws.
idea. I don't think
That's
that holds
really
any
interesting.
water canonically, but I like
Yeah,
that
I don't think
idea.
it's real, but that's a cool idea.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they're generations of heroes, but whenever they die, they get
kinda
reanimated
like-
like
What if
villains.
they're in a
It's like
I guess-
BioShock Infinite,
What?
sort of.
What if they're in a time loop?
What?
Well, if your time loop didn't know it was a
What if
time
there
loop.
was a time
Sorry.
loop?
No, I mean
Skull
like
Sorry, go
villains
on.
didn't
the
know
Toa,
they were
the Toa
skulls.
go to Akoto, they go into the ancient city, they fight these things, and they continue, and then they somehow die or something, and they like
They die at the Temple of
they
Time,
die
and the
and
Temple of
become
Time
the
sends
animated
them back.
creatures, and then they get stuck in a time loop, so
loop.
they go back, and they do
and
the
they keep
same.
causing the destruction, and more Toa need to keep.
I think
being
that's a
brought
bit
and
too much for the.
That's
That
a little
is
too
a bit
fan
much,
fictiony,
yeah.
but yeah.
Sure. Okay.
But I mean, it's cool.
I think
cool.
a really apt comparison. I've never played the game. I'm not a fan of the series, but Legend of Zelda.
Ocarina of Time.
I think yeah, it was a Twilight Princess was the game.
What are you talking about? That has a time loop? You're probably thinking Skyward Sword.
That has like this old skeleton guy, and he fights.
Oh,
Link.
you're right. You are. Yeah. No. In Twilight Princess, the guy who trains Link, there's a skeleton who trains Link. I forget his name. Basically, it's the Link from Ocarina of Time. Ocarina of Time, who was a human kid, or I guess like a sprite, and he lived the Kokiri, and all who live the Kokiri become skeletons later on. And so there's a guy who trains you in all the sword fighting moves that you can do as.
But it's
Link.
like you.
But it's the Link from the previous game, The Legend of Zelda.
Interesting.
It's actually pretty interesting. He, because in Ocarina of Time, he makes it so that, he becomes an adult, and then he makes it so that everything gets settled when he's a kid. And so he never has to go through all that stuff he did as an adult. But once he reaches that thing, because he has all that memories of being an adult, he's still like, he's never able to find his place. And he has his like thing where he's not able to, fulfill being a warrior as much as he'd like to.
Yeah, I think it would be really neat if they pulled that angle here.
Yeah.
So
Cool idea.
I guess yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I kind of like I kind of feel like it's sort of like sort of a Yu-Gi-Oh sort of thing where like the Toa are really like these past heroes from a very long time ago, like how Yami Yugi was like the pharaoh
Yeah.
a long time ago. That was kind of brought into the current timeline through like the item, which in this case would be the Mask of Time.
Yeah.
Except now they're like physically brought here, not just their spirit.
oh, come on, Mask of Time, that doesn't exist.
Yeah, what are you
The Mask
talking
of Time
about,
does
Bar?
exist.
What do you mean the Mask of Time?
It's there though.
It's
You can't
written
deny
in the
that
book.
it's actually
book
there
says
in the
that,
book.
right.
Nah, it's just Temple of
Poppycock,
Time.
what are you talking
Oh,
about?
no, it's
You're ludicrous.
it's just a G1 reference. Am I right? Yeah. So I don't know. I think the Toa are definitely an interesting part of this story. That it's still a mystery that hasn't been revealed. I feel like that's going to be the big mystery behind like the new BioNICLE is what exactly is the origin of these Toa.
Right.
How do they actually play into all this, and where did they come from, and whatnot.
I love that. I'm so happy that's a thing.
I will. Yeah, I do too. And we will get into that a little bit more in the next chapter.
Right. Let's wrap.
But
Let's go forward.
let's go ahead and continue with this one. Let's see. Where were we? Oh yeah, the mask.
The mask and Liwa and telepathic communication that we shouldn't really know. Choo choo.
So
Thanks, Thomas.
Hey.
Thomas the hype train engine. So Skull Slicer's kind of giving them the run around and jump.
Sorry.
All right, hype train, you need to calm down. I know Skull Slicer's
You
really
need to
cool.
relax. Halo 5's already out.
All right, so Skull Slicer's kind of hopping around and doing things. And Liwa says, "Okay, guys, you need to hit the lever." Through his like slow and dying breaths.
Want to point out here that in the animations, it's actually a button. Even though the thing, everyone's like, "Oh, Nua, hit the lever," and then the Nua presses down on the button. He's like, "I hit the lever," and
It is actually a button.
it is
isn't
actually a button.
That's really interesting.
I was talking to Maryland Mann. He was like, yeah, there might have been. It's like when I wrote the script, it said lever. I guess they just. I don't know. And even in this, like
Maybe
in
it's
this
just
book,
easier to
the way they
animate.
talk about it, Onua hits it with his hammer instead of pulling it, like you would a lever.
Yeah, it makes
So-
more
Right.
sense that you'd
Presumably
hit it
it's a
with the hammer
button.
instead of just being like. How are you supposed to pull a lever with a hammer unless you like knock it from the side?
Well, I mean, it depends
it's
on
got
the
to be a
side.
very
I guess
so.
big lever.
It depends on the side it's on, because like you can push the lever.
I guess
either way.
so.
Pull the lever, Crunk.
I feel like it's.
right.
I have this saved tweet that I'm waiting to make like the post someday, and that's like something like oh, Kopaka really knows how to push all of Tahu's levers.
Wow. But anyway, so Anua charges at the lever, and nearly gets crushed, but Kopaka helps him out, saves him, and then Tahu charges at Skull Slicer, gets in Kopaka's way, and stupid antics happen.
Move, Tahu, get out of
But
the way.
Tahu ducks. Kopaka's fist goes past Tahu as he like tries to punch Skull Slicer, and he succeeds in connecting with Skull Slicer, and he drops the mask, and Kopaka picks it up, and Lewa puts it back on, and Anua, he hits the lever, and proudly proclaims, "I hit the lever."
Good job, Kronk.
Lewa
Anua's such a child.
He really well.
He reminds me of Lenny off Mice and Men.
He's
I wouldn't say he's a child because I feel like he's
happy.
also the most mature of them all. So like
Yeah.
they're all children. They act like children, all of
Yeah.
them. So,
They do.
but I don't know. Anyway, so then Lee was like, without breaking anything, and Anu was like, oh, and then
Everything
the whole
breaks.
thing breaks,
Whole
and they all
Colosseum
fall
breaks.
into the chasm. So this is an interesting
comedy.
thing though because they fall into the like the chasm that kind of like is created here, but so did Skull Slicer.
What happened
So,
to
like,
Skull Slicer?
Yeah, what happened to Skull Slicer?
remember-
Because we do
I
not
remember
see him
thinking
again for the rest of this chapter or the rest of this
I
book.
think he just killed him. I
mean,
he just
I don't think.
fell to his
I mean,
death.
they fell in too, though.
Maybe just fell apart.
I think he survived, and he hits the ground, he gets back up, he's like, oh, that was really unpleasant, and then he gets crushed by rocks.
Well, he did take
Okay,
off
maybe
his,
that's possible.
he did take off his mask, so maybe he was actually vulnerable when he got hit, so he's probably knocked
yeah, you're
out.
right. That is interesting. Yeah, he
Okay.
didn't have a mask.
Right. So he's probably dead.
Maybe. Although,
I
really,
think
let's
the
be real
rocks
here. His
killed
mask is just a skull spider. So
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
He probably just got knocked out from the punch.
I mean,
guess.
Or concussed
Knocked out
or whatever.
No, well-
for the punch.
I mean, he didn't get knocked out from the punch because he was still conscious when he
true.
fell.
I'd
All right. Well, I
I
mean,
think-
he doesn't appear again. That's basically what happened.
yeah, he doesn't.
Yeah.
appear
He doesn't
the
appear
rest
for
of
the rest of the book.
It's just a
Um,
theory.
yeah.
A book theory.
Gosh,
a book theory. So continuing on with this chapter, though, it kind of gives that like cliffhanger sort of note again, but it obviously just keeps going. So we pick the story back up with them sort of buried under boulders underneath the Colosseum, and we get a bit of character development, I guess you could call it that. They have like a bit of a discussion about like their purpose and why they're here. They're sort of like kind of, I don't know,
Questioning their duty.
kind of questioning their like duty and everything, but then they're like, wait, no, the protectors need us, and they're like, yeah, the protectors need us. They gave us a purpose.
The
and
most
stuff.
I wish
responsible,
I wish that
mature
discussion-
thing I've heard.
To
in
be
this
fair,
book.
though, I'm not really sure if Anua doesn't remember anything. So like it's kind of weird that you'd say they gave us a purpose because like what if he was like had a purpose before and they literally just like ripped him from his life. But I'm here. And
Right.
caused
Like
him to lose his
I knew. I
memories.
was like, don't you remember your wife and kids? He's like, my
right,
wife?
yeah, he's like literally in the middle of a date.
Right,
with
no,
his
exactly.
girlfriend
He's
or
like,
something, and they just, like,
you know,
pulled
and his
him out
wife's
of
like,
that.
oh no, I'm pregnant with our third child. It's like, oh, I'm so happy. I'm great. I can pay off this mortgage.
I finally have a purpose.
It's like I can
and
add
nope,
this. I can
zap.
add this kid to my as the new dependent, so I can get a benefit of my taxes. And the wife's like, you go, Anua, and then
Is that
Anua
his
just gets
job, like,
pulled
Anua,
away.
professional lever pusher. He gets a promotion.
He's like, he has control of all the little buttons. He's sat around a control. Like, just imagine this big burly dude just
Yeah,
sat
and, like, you
in the
know,
control panel and there's loads
Like
of buttons.
Golly's
and whatever.
working like 120 hours a week so he can pay for a grandmother who's undergoing cancer treatment. And then she gets pulled away, and her grandmother's like, "I don't have any money," and the doctors kick her out of the hospital.
Anua's never brought back. He can't come back until his duty is fulfilled.
He comes
never
back.
gets
His
and
wife has to
everyone in his
raise their
head
3
is
kids
gone.
on her own.
It turns out that like it's the skull basher is actually the remains of his cancerous grandmother. He's been
Oh,
fighting
that's dark.
My goodness, it's
Oh
like,
boy.
you're gonna save me.
He got taken into the future.
You didn't buy my chemotherapy.
His whole
Cancer
family
through
is
the
dead.
horns.
That a bionicle is just a huge metaphor for why you should have universal health care.
Let's not go
All
there.
right, let's move on.
Man.
2016 election hashtag.
Right. So, I do want to point out that this scene was in the animations, and it's funny because I feel like this works a lot better in the books because
Yeah,
in
it
the
does.
animations it felt like a clip show.
Yeah, it did.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it was like one of those episodes
It
that
didn't
you
feel
have
like
in
a
like
clip
a,
show.
It's like
was
a
a clip
rehash of everything. It was like a
Right.
remnant.
yeah, it was like one of those episodes you have like it's like the penultimate episode in like a season where like right before the finale they want to sit down and have like a little discussion and go through all the things
Like
that
in
we've already
Korra.
seen.
Here's that in Korra.
Korra did that, yes, and so did Avatar.
Avatar
both
did a more creative thing where they watched the play that recapped all of the stuff
Yeah.
until then. So that was kind of fun.
I mean, in this case, they couldn't really do that. They were all trying.
It's budget,
Noah
yeah.
was going to start like making rock puppets.
Listen, it was a budget reason. I'm 100% convinced it was budgety and like
Yeah.
budgetary, not budgety.
All right.
But hey.
But this scene does work better in the book because it didn't really feel like a clip show, and it actually did feel like they were trying to like they came to a conclusion, or actually like talking to each other and discussing things, despite how short it was. Yeah, and they kind of I guess they sort of matured in a way. They went from being sort of disheartened to actually coming to a resolution, so that was good. It was very, very brief though.
Yeah, and it ruined this chapter with another G1 reference.
Yep.
Ruined.
So
That's a strong word.
The way the Toa escape from this, it's pretty funny because as they're kind of like going back and forth, Leo's like, "Wait, I feel a breeze," and Kopaka utters this line that just either made you really happy and smile, or just made you groan.
It was like cringe.
Yeah.
Breeze? What are you? The master of air?
Air horn.
Cheek, okay.
So I liked it. I was actually very happy with that.
I thought
it was really funny too.
I like
but
that.
I can also understand people who are like, oh, you know, too much references.
Those people are picky, unhappy people who don't work at a button factory. I thought this was fine. I thought it was funny. I thought it was a great job by the authors.
Yeah, I thought it was clever
fine
as well.
yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah.
So the resolution to that was that Anua decided to just fix his problems of destroying and breaking everything by destroying and breaking everything. So he charges and explodes a hole through the where the breeze is coming from, and they kind of awaken in this sort of like ain't like a grave site where there's a bunch of ancient tombstones and stuff.
He was like Anua, smash.
Upwards. Yeah, this is one of the few times they actually use their elemental powers.
Yeah, I guess it's true.
It is.
I'm assuming we're going to see a lot more elemental power usage next year, since
Right.
that seems to be a big focus.
Yeah, with the creatures and whatnot.
Right. The Uniters. All right, so where do we go now?
But so now they continue like searching for Akimu. Kopaka's like, we gotta find Akimu's tomb, and Liwa with his smart Alec self snarkiness was like, oh, we could just take a peek at the building with the giant mask maker sign, because there's one of that. It's unfortunate that the book doesn't really capture the funny moment in the episode where this happens, because when Liwa says that, there's just this great shot of Gali's face, and she is just not happy.
She's like, Liwa, I'm getting tired of your nonsense.
Yeah, real tired of your nonsense.
More than once in those animations. She's like the only one who does not want to be there.
She's just tired of all the Toa's crap.
She's like, why am I here?
Well, isn't that the question for all the Toa?
Yeah. So they see the mausoleum that Akimu is resting in, and they start heading towards it, but they are interrupted by two Skull Scorpios.
Beware of their
approaching them.
stinger tails.
Beware their stinger tails.
G1 reference.
It's the Trinity. One reference unity, the other references duty, and the third references destiny.
What?
Wait, what?
No, I'm kidding. Nothing about it. Go on.
So
just
this
there.
line actually was not in the animations. This is a book exclusive line.
The Beware their stinger tails one?
Yep.
I know that.
Wasn't it
Interesting.
like
I didn't know that either.
name?
Yeah, I think it was actually.
I think it
Well,
was.
now you made me feel like an idiot, Viper. Thank you.
Well,
Man.
it's about time the table.
Quiz
Oh,
the
okay.
whiz.
Quiz
How's
the
the
whiz.
mighty have fallen?
Well, in my defense, it was not uttered in the episode.
Well, sure,
that's a
LJ,
good
sure.
You can say,
But I mean, like,
things.
actually, like, lliterally being the title of the episode is kind of important, though.
Move along.
Anyways, so yeah, Beware
move
their
along.
stinger tails. And the weird part about this is that apparently Poatu and Anua have both fought in Skull Scorpios before, which I guess, I mean, it makes sense because we did kind of skip some time, but it's just like, I don't really know where in the story that could have taken place.
Probably when you see it in the Toa animations where they're going up against to get their masks, like the individual ones, you know, the commercial like 30-second ones,
Yeah,
and
but
you
it's
see
like-
like him
spiders.
throw.
Yeah, those are just skull spiders, and those also didn't really seem very canon either.
I mean,
Yeah,
fair enough,
or-
but I mean, I'm assuming that's when it happened. That's when they're getting there.
Well, I mean, if that's canon, then like they also fought
That's true.
freaking Lord of Skull Spiders in every single encounter. So
That's fair.
and beat him 6 times before they all decided to beat him for one more.
Oh, just like a certain summon enemy in the recent.
Yeah, so
games.
I don't know if that's the case, but like even then, I don't really. It's hard to kind of pinpoint where like a time frame where this encounter could have happened.
Right.
Also, it's a little weird that Skull Scorpios, because they seem so Earth themed. I mean, Earth themed, stone themed, that they would also appear in the Earth region.
True.
Granted, that didn't happen a lot in Gen 1 Bionicle.
I guess that's true,
The
but
new
like those
Jaga
weren't.
specifically were very.
Is it LJ?
Yeah,
Shut your
LJ.
pie hole. And you too. This is Gen 1.5.
Gen 1.5.
1.5.
Five.
Continuation
back. The
confirmed,
train's
guys.
back.
Oh, the hype train's
train's
back.
back.
It was really
The moment
excited
you
to hear about that
mentioned G1,
continuation
it's
joke.
like, man.
Yeah. Man. But yeah, okay, so I guess that's true though. It's not really specific. It also it kind of paints a picture that there are multiple Skull Scorpios too. Like there's not just 2 of them, there's several, hundreds of them. Like they're a horde enemy, which is kind of lame. It also doesn't really make any sense because I don't think Skull Scorpio was a horde type in the magazine that we got the descriptions for. What's
Skull
Cult's
Scorpio
name?
wasn't mentioned in the magazine.
Oh, he wasn't?
No.
Oh.
It was Skull Warrior, Kulta, and Skull Slicer.
Huh. Okay. Okay, cool. But it is a little lame that we got horde enemies. I would have preferred they all have individual characters, but that's okay. So Pohatu is completely useless in this fight because the second the Scorpios show up, they instantly take his mask out and like he collapses. So they all attack the Skull Scorpios. Things happen. Liwa decides to come up with a cool idea that just Kopaka does not understand. So Liwa like kind of flies away from the battle up on top of the mausoleum, and Kopaka thinks he is retreating, but in reality he's not. And Liwa manages to knock down like I think it was the mask.
Yeah, it was
like the
mask.
statue of the mask. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it falls in the Scorpio and kills it.
Yep.
Man.
So first of
No
all,
Toa kills. Or no Toa
Death is
code.
back.
Yeah.
And second of all, Meso would sit here and say, "Oh, that was just Liwa flailing around and like being dumb. He just did that on accident."
That's so stupid.
See,
Well-
Liwa is so helpful.
Well, I mean,
he found
He's
the air
just
passage.
vandalized like a tomb.
Oh
And
my
he's just
goodness,
killed
Viper.
someone.
listen,
He's not
You
that
can't-
much of a good guy.
He vandalized it too.
You're not that much of a good guy.
Just
doesn't mean
imagine
that
it.
anyways.
Lee was just stepping on this tombstone, knocking the statues down.
Dang.
imagine Akimu after he's awake. He's like, "All right, guys. Well, thanks for saving me. Got to get back to work.
You
good
gotta
thing,
pay
like
for
my
that."
yeah, good thing my thing's still standing. What the? This
My
thing-
forefathers
But I mean, at
built
that
this
point, you could
tomb,
just
and
say-
this like massive statue just falls down.
You could just say,
Congratulations,
like,
you
the
now
Skull Villains did
decapitated
that.
grandfather. Sawtooth reference.
Good job.
What, LJ?
I mean, at that rate, you can just blame it on the Skull Villains. It's like, look at what they did. Can you believe the audacity of them?
to kill their own kind.
It was an accident. They were flailing around.
All right.
All right. But that basically wraps up the chapter. They destroy the Skull Scorpios, and then they approach the mausoleum and prepare to enter.
The
as they
mausoleum.
prepare to awaken the Mask Maker, and that's where the chapter ends. So we are getting close to the end of this book. This was an interesting chapter, I suppose. But let's hear what we all thought about it. Viper, let's start with you.
I mean, a lot of it was a transcript of what we've already seen in the episodes, but a lot of stuff was perceived better in this book, especially the reminiscing scene or whatever it was. Like, when they look back at everything and they question everything, like, it felt very... Like, it felt out of place in the animations, because it's like 1 minute and 3 seconds, like 1 minute 30 seconds long, and you've waited all week for it, and all it is just a show reel of something you've already seen, so it was very disappointing. But reading it from the book, it makes a lot of sense, and it kind of gives the characters at least some amount of responsibility and maturity to them. And yeah, other than that, I thought it was an okay chapter. It's not my favourite, but it did bring a lot of interesting points to it, and yeah.
All right. LJ, what did you think?
Rereading this chapter and going back through it for like the third time with you guys, I actually like it a lot more.
Yeah, I agree.
Looking at it, it's very action-packed. There's a lot going on. The G1 references, if you can catch them, are actually rather amusing, especially the Stinger Tail one. That was unexpected when we heard about that. So I did really enjoy the chapter going back through it. However, it does go by really fast, and a lot of the enemies are kind of footnotes on an index. You got Skull Slicer, he's done. You got, I don't know, Ditch, Rocks, they're done. You got Skull Scorpios. One person is all it took to take them down. They're two of them, too.
10 out of 10.
I mean, I'm not really sure I would say one person's all it took because several of them attacked and just failed.
Okay, fair
It
point.
didn't take one person, it took one massive statue.
Okay,
Yeah, there you go.
But the villains just go down so fast. Now, I guess, that's understandable considering they basically transcripted the animations and they had to put it in one chapter and there are only 6 chapters. But it is a slight bit disappointing that we didn't get to see a whole lot of them, especially Skull Slicer, considering he is one we understand has an active history. He was part of that arena before. He was revered by the villagers way, way, way back when.
Maybe
So
he's the
it
one
is
of the
a
3
bit
kids.
disappointing we didn't.
Beginner's luck on.
I mean, like,
his
he
own
could be the
game.
one of the 3 kids, and like about and then like everything just
Exactly, he could be the button pusher.
right.
But we don't really get to see a whole lot of that. We see Skull Slicer. We understand his name is Skull Slicer thanks to the title of the chapter, and because Lewa says he calls himself Skull
Okay,
Slicer.
I forgot to mention that. That was really, really dumb.
Right.
Yeah, that.
Oh,
that
I forgot about that. Yeah,
absolute
yeah.
left field. It made absolutely no
Your
sense.
friendly neighborhood skull
Dumb.
Just
a
Dumb.
skull
It doesn't
slicer.
make any sense that Skull Slicer would call himself Skull Slicer.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense that he would just be like, by the way, my name is Skull Slicer.
Yeah,
doesn't make
exactly.
any sense that Lewa would
He just
know,
leaves
so.
a little note that says your friendly neighborhood Skull Slicer.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So
Stay frosty.
it is a good thing, however, that we did get some backstory in regards to Hammer Flush. We now know how that is played, and that is really neat. It's kind of a way of expanding the universe, expanding Okoto and its culture.
They just ripped off
Culture
Thief for
mess up.
3. It's
It does sound cooler than what was it?
Coley.
Coley.
It sounds way better than
Coley,
Coley.
so-
But
Oh,
it's
boy.
also like, it's Griffball,
Yeah, kind of.
It's Griff.
So, all in all, I did like the chapter. It has a lot of disappointing features, and it does accentuate the book's overall disappointments. However, for what it was enjoyable. It was decent. It's not the worst, in my opinion.
All right, Kahi.
I see what everyone said before. It was short. I felt it was an alright chapter, not my favorite of this book. I do think that there's leading up to some world building. I'm looking forward to the next book to bringing the amount of world building I want to see in BioNICLE. I feel like this book had a lot of guidelines to it, and it shows, I think, in this chapter more than any other chapter, except maybe the last one, and how rigid it is in the following the animations. Which, I mean, I get why they did it, and I get like the reasons behind it, but just as a consumer of this media, or everything BioNICLE, feels a little feels okay. The Skull Slicer bit especially is the part that gets me. It's like, we have that episode that's like some kind of Skull Slicer. We're referencing that, and that's basically how I feel about that. Same thing with the lever. The lever is a little iffy, but whatever. Hey.
For me, I thought the chapter was okay, a little too short, but I mean, I guess it is what you get. It did seem like it was a pretty well filled chapter though. Like we did get the character, I guess, development. The most we're probably gonna get in the entire book, or the most we did get in the entire book.
Right.
And there were 2 battles, despite being kind of short. My only issue is I felt the battles were very, very short for these villains compared to what we got with Loss. He got the best fight scene in the entire book, which is really
funny
disappointing
because
when
he
you
got-
can when you
He got one of the
like. It's really disappointing when like that was like our major complaint for the last year, or the
First
last
wave?
season of animations, because that fight was so short.
I was gonna say,
so it's kind of
like,
funny
he
that
got
the
it
villains
really
get
bad
even
in
shorter
animation.
fight scenes. So, that was my only complaint. But other than that, I thought the chapter was pretty solid. So we'll see. I just wish it would follow the animations a little less. But there we go. But that basically wraps up chapter 5. Skull Slicer Strikes.
Thanks,
So,
goodness.
yep. Tune in next week. So, or for us to go over. I think we got 2 chapters left, or one more.
One more.
One more chapter.
One more, the
Chapter six.
final
Finale.
chapter. So, this was the penultimate
episode.
Man, this is a short book.
Yes.
Yep, it's a short book.
Let's look forward to the next book coming December, I think.
No, January, I think. Well, we do have the graphic novel coming soon.
Okay.
Yeah, could we do a book club for the graphic novels?
It depends on what's on the graphic novel.
Okay, fair point.
It might be. We could probably do like a single episode for
Right.
it. But yeah, so that wraps this up. So thanks for joining us, and stick around next week when we'll go over the final chapter of Island of the Lost Mask. We hope you enjoyed, everybody. I'm Var,
I'm LJ.
I'm Kahi.
I'm Viper.
and this has been BioTalk Book Club. Be sure to check us out on Vessel at vessel.com/the TTV channel, where you can check out all our content early in advance for $3. Or you can just check out, just our free videos that come out at the same time that they come out on YouTube. But regardless of where you watch, it still supports us. Vessel supports us a little bit more, so we encourage everybody to check that out.
They also support PayPal right now. So if you don't have a credit card, I know some people were complaining about that. They didn't have that option. You can.
That is
you
true.
Can buy it with PayPal.
PayPal is now a new
PayPal
thing.
is a new
So
thing.
if you did want to support us prior and you just didn't have a credit card, you can now because they offer PayPal. Also, they added push notifications recently too.
Right.
So if you watch us on the Vessel app on your phone, you'll get alerted whenever a new video comes out. So you'll always be on top of the channel. So that's pretty cool stuff. So we will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye-bye.